So I'm actually super excited to see the Library Publishing Coalition project underway. I was involved as core staff when I was at Georgia Tech in the library publishing, the IMLS-funded library publishing Services Strategies for Success project, which was led by Purdue University and in partnership with the University of Utah, Georgia Tech, and Spark. And actually, I see Mark Newton, who is also a core staff member as well, in the audience. So I'm up here talking about what's happening with the Library Publishing Coalition project. And I should say that it would be great to have all the LPC members here to talk a little bit about what they're doing, because there's so many individuals involved in this project. So I'll just talk a little bit about the activities, and I want to thank, and Martin beat me to it, Sarah Lippincott for producing the slides and for providing leadership for the project, and also Catherine Skinner for her involvement in leadership as well. So the mission statement that Martin just put up a few minutes ago is something that we actually voted on as a group. So we spent quite a bit of time trying to decide exactly what the mission of the Library Publishing Coalition was going to be. But we think this really reflects the fact that the LPC is going to be an organization that will reflect the diverse needs of our community and the range of publishing services that our institutions are offering. So in terms of the LPC's services, which are going to be a big part of what the organization is going to be offering the LPC community, we're planning to host an annual forum where we can have practitioners, those interested in digital publishing, come together and to communicate what's happening in the field, this emerging field, as well as their current efforts and initiatives and the services they're offering, to share best practices and ideas, and also working towards developing and compiling a directory of library publishing services. And so yesterday we heard some folks saying sometimes it's as easy as just having a list to actually get started in understanding the field. And I think having this directory is going to be really critical in helping us find peers that are doing similar things, or sort of realizing how we could position our own services within the broader landscape of services and kind of learn from each other. So this directory is going to be really helpful. And in fact, we've already developed a draft questionnaire that we've distributed to the LPC members, but that we'll actually send out to the broader community on various listservs. So you should see something soon where we can basically get more information about publishing services that you're offering so we can compile an appropriate directory. We're conducting new research, and new research is really critical because we're not intending to repeat any of the studies that have been done, the amazing work coming out of, well, the LPS study and the recommendations that were made there, as well as Carla Hahn's study. We're really interested in Tyler's as well, interested in doing new research. So we actually have a research team that has formed, a subcommittee of the organizing committee that's actually looking at specific research items and agendas, looking at potentially developing policy guidelines for publishing services, as well as doing deep dives into understanding some of the new types of services that institutions are offering and new roles that we're playing outside of providing just editorial support for publications, for journals. So there are a variety of different topics that we're exploring, and that list will continue to grow over time. And we're also interested in building relationships with other organizations in the scholarly communications and library fields, so partnering with university presses, with nonprofit publishers, commercial publishers, so trying to build that network so that we can learn from each other, and those that are participating in other efforts and initiatives can come together and communicate and exchange ideas, which is so critical. We heard a lot about that yesterday, and I think that's something the LPC is very committed to doing as well. Also developing advocacy and awareness materials and programs that articulate the unique value of library publishing. I know a number of institutions are looking for more advocacy materials, data to back up the publishing services that we all feel so passionately about, so that we can advocate with our library administrators, with university administration, to talk about why publishing services are so important and the role that library publishing services play in the emerging and evolving field of scholarly communication. We're also very interested in providing training and learning opportunities for professionals and students to develop needed skills and competencies. So we're very interested, and just yesterday during our LPC meeting, we talked and sort of brainstormed about training tracks or potential programs we might offer, and we have a lot of ideas that were generated in the meeting about whether or not we would explore copyright sessions, as Sarah mentioned, and a few other themes and topics that are important to the community. We're interested in partnering with iSchools as well, so that's something that we'll be exploring in the next 2 years, and trying to identify where we might partner with programs to develop an appropriate curriculum, perhaps, in library publishing. Some opportunities for students to actually get some experience in publishing programs. So we're very excited about that. And I know at Virginia Tech we're actively working on an e-research training program internally within our library. So looking at scripting and programming training sessions we might offer our staff, as well as understanding repositories and publishing as well. So I'm really excited to see what the LPC might be able to do in terms of augmenting our training initiatives with broader conversations within the community. So I'm very excited about that. Gathering statistics that track needs, trends, needs, and developments in the field, as well as exploring collective purchasing arrangements and developing collective marketing strategies as well. So the community very early on, I would say in January or February, actually came together and reviewed the list of potential services and helped to identify which were sort of the highest priority areas. So what you're seeing here is a list that the community has had a lot of involvement in helping us to develop and refine. Let's see. So in terms of, oh my goodness. Thank you. In terms of project deliverables, we are actively working now, specifically the executive committee, on developing an appropriate governance structure and organizational model and business model for the Library Publishing Coalition. And obviously this is a founding process, it's a 2-year process. So at the end of this 2-year process, we will launch the Library Publishing Coalition. The LPC Forum, so we're working now, we have a program committee that's actually looking at deciding on a venue and speakers and appropriate content for the annual forum, the first, which will be, I think, in March of 2014, is that right? So that's exciting development there. The LPC volume is something that we are excited about. So some of these studies and reports that I mentioned earlier will be combined into a volume that we will publish and share with the broader community. A directory and information hub. So the directory I mentioned earlier, as well as developing a web space, an information hub where our community members can actually come together and exchange ideas and connect with peers. So that's something that's forthcoming. The targeted research that I mentioned earlier, building on existing studies, is very, very important to us, and the training and certificate opportunities as well. So Martin mentioned the aims and ambitions, so I thought I'd end with this slide to basically convey the fact that the LPC, this 2-year founding process, is meant to create an organization that will help institutions and help us as a publishing community mainstream the publishing services in a range of forms appropriate to different institutional sizes and goals, and to create this network that is so critical, this virtual community around library publishing services that we so desperately need, and was definitely a recommendation from the LPS Strategies for Success report, that we needed to continue this community building and to share best practices. So this is something that's very important to the LPC. And obviously providing services to practitioners is really critical as well. So we thought we would end the presentation with some questions for you all. And is your library engaged in library publishing activities? And do you think your activities are similar to or distinct from those underway at other institutions? And we'd like to know what services you think the future LPC should actually provide to its members and constituent communities. We'd love to hear your thoughts.